Greetings, YouTube. Those of you who have watched my videos, if you watch more than a few of them, at some point I am quite sure you've come across statements, and they're sincere and genuine, that I support peaceful change. But let me be more clear in saying that I don't think that violence is never justified. I believe violence is justified if there is a very large degree of certainty that the suffering it alleviates, ends, or causes just never to happen is greater than the suffering that it causes. And the actions of John Brown at both in Bleeding, Kansas, and also at Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, shine forth to me as two of the greatest examples in all of history when this was true. The Civil War was going to happen. Slavery was not going to end without it. Now, it was going to end eventually. It couldn't survive in the new order of the world that was developing. I hate to use the term New World Order because, you know, a new world order happens all the time. After the Roman Empire fell, Rome was no longer the dominating force in the world. So guess what? It was a New World Order. When America rose to ascendancy after the ascended to global primacy after World War I, and then even further after World War II, that was a New World Order. After getting off subject, you know what is going to happen now. There's a possibility, had it been delayed, it might have been less bloody, but that cannot be guaranteed. It could have been more bloody. It could have been roughly the same. But one thing that would be guaranteed by putting it off is that there would have been even if it was 5 more years, 10 more years, maybe a generation, maybe 2 generations of people living under the indignity of slavery, and living is stretching it. Existing. That is not a life. That is not living. That is merely existing. Granted, that's what most of us do in this New World Order we're living in, but I digress again. I apologize. But, you know, so when the Civil War happened, it did alleviate human suffering. The Civil War was a noble war. It was a good war. John Brown was the one responsible for it starting. Had he not did what he did, when Lincoln got elected, the South would have saw him for who he really is. I mean, there still would have been some rhetorical, the election year bullshit, trying to paint him out to be some radical, just like the conservatives are doing to Obama nowadays. But he was not a radical. He was opposed to slavery, but he wasn't going to do anything about it. In fact, most of what he did early in his presidency was pro-slavery, was trying to be conciliatory with the South. And you could say, from the position of real politics, that was the wise thing to do to keep the Union together. But I'm not a very sentimental person when it comes to such things. I can be sentimental when it comes to human beings. I love people. Some more than others because they're just more caring, more empathetic. I might just know them better. But I love people. I love human beings. I love animals. I love my brother's cats. I love living things. A state is an abstract concept.
It's a concept. It's not a human being. You can't cut it. You can't hug it. You can't. You can tell it you love it, but it's not going to love you back. A human being will. And that's who I care about. So the concept of trying to keep a union together, wow, and through the allowance of the degradation and extreme utter oppression and dehumanization of others is not noble to me. Keeping this union together by allowing slavery would disgust me. It is not something to
view as, you know, as good. Sorry for not being very eloquent right there, but it's just, I just don't know how to describe how little I care about keeping the Union together just to keep the Union together. Sorry about that. My webcam was going haywire. So, but to continue, yeah, it's meaningless to me. All that is meaningless to me. I care about individuals. I care about human beings. Um, so to answer anything is to say, well, okay, America as it stands right now is inflicting so much suffering around the world. I mean, granted, it's causing a lot of suffering right now the way it's being run at home, but compared to what it's doing to, I mean, virtually the entire world through our economic policies, through our wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, soon Iran and Syria coming up soon in all probability, and who knows where else after that. You can make the argument, well, shouldn't we rise up in arms right now? Should and on a certain moral level, I would say, yeah, they do deserve to be overthrown. The there is no I don't have a moral quandary really with storming the Bastille, as it were, and I don't think it would be morally wrong if it was feasible, if there was any prospect of success. I mean, not to say that that the United States government is invincible, but it is fairly safe to assume, and there is absolutely no reason to assume to the contrary, that it wouldn't cause even more suffering than it would alleviate. So I oppose it, because the minimization of human suffering is the basis of my ethical code. Also, you, James, if by some chance you happen to see this. Now, to also address any concerns, any statements to say that John Brown's mission was a failure. It was not. It was not a failure. It was anything but. It is the greatest success in American history to me. He laid his life on the line. He died. He didn't accomplish his goal right then and there. But just because you don't accomplish your goal in your lifetime does not make you a failure. His goal was to permanently end the institution of chattel slavery in the United States of America, and he did. He is the one that was responsible for the start of the Civil War. The Civil War resulted in the end of slavery. He was a success. It was a delayed success. I believe he knew, as much as you can possibly know something that's going to happen in the future, that he was winning at the gallows, which is, along with, he definitely had his pride. He definitely had some other things going with him too. His courage, the makeup of who he was as a man, the why he faced the gallows the way he did, so nobly, so bravely, without any inkling of fear. He knew he was winning, even though he looked like he was losing. And there on another level, it was an even greater success. The triumph of the human spirit, I guess you could call it. The ability to show that yes, you can truly live for the causes you believe in, and you can be willing to die for them. That you have that, because no human being has ever done anything that nobody else is capable of, that others could do it. We could do it now. I mean, granted, as I said, not in the same methodology, but we can truly live our lives in such a way where we exemplify that we are truly and absolutely 100% dedicated to the cause of human liberation. We can do it. He did it. I wish I could say that I even came close, anywhere near to living his living my principles to the extent that he lived his. But I mean, who, how many people in history really have? But he is the hero of heroes. Um, and and to touch on a couple other topics regarding him, just because I'm on the subject, and this is gonna run kind of long, but he was such an amazing figure in so many ways. He was so thoroughly consistent. I mean, he was not only believed in emancipation, but also the elevation to full citizenship and complete and absolute equality under the law for every man, woman in this country. Everybody. Male, female, black, white, Indian, everybody. I should have did a little more research, but I've read I've read a few of his biographies actually. This one I'm now reading for the fourth time. John Brown, abolitionist, the man who killed slavery, started the Civil War, and seeded civil rights, by David S. Reynolds. I highly recommend it. One of the best books I've ever read in my entire life. Find it, buy it, go to the library and borrow it. But I recommend buying it. It's one of my most prized possessions. Sincerely, granted, he was a Calvinist, he was a Puritan, he was a religious fundamentalist. You all know that I'm not a big fan of that, but I don't see the problem with it if you only apply it to your life. That you say, these are my principles and I'm going to live by them. Fine. He was vehemently opposed to imposing his belief on others. When he moved, he was raised in a family that had the same religious beliefs. When they moved out to Ohio when he was a teenager, they went there, and one of their stated goals is they wanted to spread Christianity, but they did not want to do it through force. They did not want to do it through the imposition of will. They refused to do it as such. Their goal was to propagate it by example, to carry themselves in such a manner as to make people want to say, Mr. Brown, why do you and your family carry yourselves as such? Why are you as kind as you are? Why are you as generous and honest as you are? And then they could say, well, it's because I am a Christian. And I have no problem. I mean, who could have a problem with that? Unless you're just being, a non-religious fundamentalist. And fundamentalism ultimately should be viewed as the enemy. I mean, not even fundamentalism, but the imposition of will, really. Because, like I said, he was a fundamentalist, but he didn't believe in imposing his will. When he did the raid on at Harper's Ferry, he had Jews with him, atheists. 1859, he had atheists with him in his party. He did not treat them as less than him. He embraced them as brothers. He prayed for them. He would talk to them from the Bible, and I have friends that do that. It doesn't bother me, because he still embraced them as brothers despite the difference of opinion. He had Marxists with him, and his two of his sons, and I believe a couple of the other members of the party were Marxists. This is 1859. How fucking progressive is that for its day and age? I mean, he was so far ahead of his time in so many ways. And and a lot of people idolize John Brown now for wrong reasons, because abortion bombers and stuff. They'll say, well, I did it because the example of John Brown. Guess what, motherfucker? John Brown, in his day, there was abortion, there was gay people, there was a whole lot of things that you right-wingers who claim to idolize John Brown, they existed back then too, but John Brown didn't do anything about it because he understood that that's not really his concern. I mean, granted, he probably was opposed to homosexuality. I doubt he was that far ahead of his time. Probably was opposed to abortion, but he didn't see it as his duty to impose his will on other people in that private area of their lives. And that, again, for its day and age, is incredibly progressive. And I like to think that if he was alive in our day and time, that he would be, would at least, I mean, even if not agree with homosexuality, at least agree with the foundational principle that human beings deserve human rights. And while I wish people would just abandon that whole fucking ridiculous concept that love can be wrong, or even that lust can be wrong, as long as it's with a somebody of willing, able to give effective consent. I wish we'd abandon that, but ultimately, as long as you respect other people and not just that false bullshit fucking pretend respect of hate the sinner but hate the sin but love the sinner, but genuinely loving the person and just realizing that even if you do something I disagree with, I respect you as a human being and I love you as a human being, even though I disagree with some of the things you do. I can't see the level of, I still have a problem with it, but just not anywhere near the same level. But I know this has gone way over what I wanted to do, and I'm probably kissing a dead man's ass a little bit too much at this point. So, but yeah, I love John Brown, man. All right, peace.